Hello, welcome to the program. Today is a free-form chat. We're just hanging out, promoting stuff, checking in about progress, asking questions, and hanging out for a bit. Hey, what's up, Jaji? I'm just getting stuff set up.
There we go. Hello.
Today, we'll just do check-ins on progress. We can talk about something I want to hear more about is the Kickstarter program you have been I guess kind of killing it with, it looks like, from the sounds of it.
Going pretty well.
Yeah. So maybe there's some inside baseball on that might be valuable. Any new projects on the horizon? Any progress with old projects? Those sorts of things. Just shooting the breeze.
The Amelia anthology, I was in Amelia from Pathways anthology, now has an arc out, if anybody's interested in reading, which is kind of cool. I have not read the other stories yet, so I cannot,
They'll be there.
Say anything except that I had a lot of fun writing mine, but hopefully the others are good too.
Yeah. I've been making a little bit of progress on a fiction short story that I'm trying to put out in May. I think I can do it. I know the deadline's getting a little tight now, and I'm only about a third of the way through my word count that I need, but I think I can do it. I think I can finish it up and get it out by the end of May.
Excellent. Excellent.
Then I'll do the audio book for that kind of in tandem with it. I usually use that as a chance to do a final read through, but then also record it, and I can edit later on whatever.
Yeah.
Finally get the chance, it sits there on the hard drive patiently, eager, to be edited and clipped up into shape. Luckily.
It's quite cool. Yeah, I'm supposed to write a short story sometime in the next week and a half. I have it thought out, and I wrote the beginning of it months ago, but I've just been so busy. I did finally finish the editing job that I had that
Nice.
really took a long time, but it was quite enjoyable, and the person was really grateful, which is always lovely. But I don't know. I have to pick a day and write this thing. We were doing the extracurricular, Fantastic Schools extracurricular, and I have this list of clubs and activities for my magic school that's like 3 pages long. And I'm like, I should say the list is not 3 pages long. It has people's names and, characters who are members and stuff in it. But with all those clubs, I should at least write something for extracurricular vibes. So I came up with a story that should be really short, which is really unusual for me. I just have to pick a day. I've been working on my novel. I've been working on the scene at the Tower of London, which I think I finished the rough draft of yesterday, which was fun because I got to pull out my pictures from when I was actually there and stuff like that. But I don't have all that much time, so I like working on the book. So taking time for the short story, I will see. I really should do it though, because we need 1 or 2 more, and I have it partially started. It would be silly not to finish it. Yeah, I should do that.
Gotta get it across the finish line.
Yeah, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's a good day for just doing something else for a change.
Doing a little writing for a change.
Just writing something else for a change.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think I mentioned last week or the week before that when I got started on the tower scene, I had 82 pages of notes.
Whoa.
From the original game. And I managed to get that down to, maybe like 30 pages, 2 chapters. But I did it partially by taking a bunch of conversations with one character out, and that's going to be its own chapter at a different time and place. So that's what I have to work on tonight is organizing that part and making sure that all the parts that need to be at the tower are established at the tower, and the rest of it can take place in a carriage ride on the way to what they do next and things like that. So, and a lot of that should be able to cut down because of the chatty conversation between 2 girls. I can leave out anything that's not actually pertinent, but it's I'm really eager to get done with this part because I want to get to the later part of the story.
That's the piece you're looking forward to.
Yeah, there's stuff I'm really well. Once the actual hero comes on stage, the whole thing becomes something quite interesting. But I have to set everything up first. He doesn't get to come on until everything else is set up. So I reread the scene with him recently, though, and I was like, boy, this is pretty good.
Chop up the story, make it non-linear, start the action right out of the gate.
No, because the whole point is the contrast. You see, if I got to set up everything that's going on that would be what her life would be like if he wasn't there, and then the contrast of him coming in.
Fair.
I mean, he is not he's not the guy who's supposed to be the hero. I'll just put it that way. So I mentioned these books are based on role-playing games.
Yeah.
And so in the role-playing game, you have no control over who the player falls in love with. You know what I mean? Who the character of the player's playing ends up liking. And I went to my husband at one point. I'm like, I've run a lot of games for many years, and I've run a lot of romances. And I think my player's falling in love with the married guy. What do I do? It's never happened before, But,
gulp.
As a writer, there are ways of fixing these problems, or a wife of the guy. But it works out really well. And when I reread it, I was like, okay, no wonder. I mean, compared to all the other guys, there's no question. This is the interesting thing.
It's loosely based on a game. Let's say that.
Well, it's a lot more than loosely. The conversations are taken directly from the emails. So that's why I have a co-author on all these.
Yeah.
Oops. Smells like it burned. Sorry, guys. There a lot of it is directly out of the game. I'm just copying it. The timer never started. No wonder I didn't hear it go off. Oh, well. Sorry about that, guys. Not this one. Okay, all right. Then I just couldn't hear it. I thought I was going to hear it. Anyway, it's interesting. So I'm taking the actual conversations and think, most of which was written by me, but the actual character written by the other person. But I have to add in descriptions, backgrounds, fashion, all the stuff that we just hinted at in the original that needs to be there. So still a lot of work. And half the work is it's same thing with the Rachel Griffin books, which started the same way. There I was the player and the moderator was somebody else. Half the work is deciding what to leave out, just you have this thing and it's interesting, but it's not really fully to the point. So you have to sit there and go through and go, okay, well, this conversation can go, or often half of this paragraph I need, and the rest of it is the guy being extra wordy and chatty. I don't need that for the book. So let me, cut it down. Let me make it say the same thing in 2 words rather than 10. But it's a different challenge. Sometimes you think that, I have this already written, so it's going to go fast. Sometimes the chapters I have to write from scratch because something's different in the book than the game go a lot quicker than the ones I'm converting, because I just write what I want to be there rather than having to go through and go, this doesn't work. This guy isn't even in this story, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, once you're converting it over, you can have it do whatever you need it to do or want it to do.
Exactly.
You're
exactly.
Lifting maybe the main plot points and characters and different elements off of that, but you get to make the final executive decision on the story.
This one is easier than the Rachel Griffin one because, as I said, I was the person running it here, and it's in its own background because the 200 years before Rachel Griffin version doesn't have copyrighted characters because it started in this background. But the Rachel Griffin book is based on a game that was set at Hogwarts and had people like Dr. Doom and Superman as characters. So everything has to be changed. I had a whole new background, whole new magic school. Every character needs their own world that they came from invented to go with it. It's a lot harder than just taking a story that you made up to begin with and just polishing it a bit and putting it on a page. So
Yeah.
that does make it easier.
Full on replacement.
Yeah.
In some of those cases.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before that I don't know if I would have. I didn't think through the fact that I was going to have to make up an entire world for every character that had been brought from another world because I couldn't use the copyrighted version until I was already like partway into the series. I'm like, oh, wait, this guy needs a world. This guy needs a world. They each have to be kind of interesting for some reason, So that's been fun, but also a little daunting.
How long are the Rachel Griffin books?
I mean, how long is each book?
Yeah.
The early ones are probably, the first few are probably like 300 pages. The most recent one, which was like a season ending, you know how television will have a season ending that wraps up everything from that season? Book 6 probably should have been 2 books, and I put it together to, and I got through it to get the whole freshman year over. That one's like 600 pages. It was a lot longer.
Yeah, that is considerably.
Yeah, it was my longest. So that's the one where my narrator is doing now, and of course I can't remember how many hours it is, like 32 hours or something. It's an insane amount of time for her to have to be reading. She was really excited because we got to chapter 18, and I was like, "Well, yeah, but there's 52 chapters."
Bum, bum, bum.
They're all about 20 minutes each. So anyway, I'm delighted. It's fun to have me going over it. It's got some really cool things in it that I'm glad to be revisiting, but it's long. It's not as long as the romance book I just wrote, but it's long.
Yeah. I'm kind of kicking around a novella idea since last year. I don't even know if I've put any notes down. I just keep revisiting the idea and kind of thinking more stuff about it. At some point I'll start to make an outline and keep track of my ideas, but I don't have the time to write it yet. So it's okay if I just sit and imagine it instead. But yeah, I want to keep doing some short stories. I want to get some of this video stuff out the door. There's a few kind of shorter projects that I want to do in the spring once I finish up the national parks video that you saw. That is pretty close. That's I would say it's like 75-80% done. Just needs a lot of tweaks and a few spots need polished and changed, but for the most part, I've been working on the music over the last couple of weeks and getting that cleaned up and refined. And
cool. Yeah, I noticed that the one thing that was missing was there were spots saying that the music was supposed to go here and have it here.
Yeah. There's still stuff I have to work with. There's one song that's very much incomplete, but there's, I would say, 7 other songs that are pretty close to there. So that's not too bad. I think it probably needs like a couple of more like writing sessions and arranging sessions to get it into shape, and then be able to kind of see how I can put it against the existing video footage and stuff, and see what else I can deconstruct with it. And
that part fun. Like once all the basic parts are there, and now you're looking at it from a point of view of what can I do to bring out something? What can I do to make it just a little bit smoother or more elegant or more coordinated? I always think it's a really fun part of the project.
Yeah, and that's for video or audio or books. They all, I think, kind of reach that stage of things where you're satisfied with all of the individual parts, and you're just kind of like shifting things like 4 to 6% here and there just to see like, oh, does this improve it or not? Or how does this combination of changes work together?
Oh, so you were asking about the Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So the Kickstarter is doing pretty well. We set it for a very small amount because I won't go into the whole history of why I have this thought, but I'd much rather have things fund for a small amount than not fund, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
Once they fund, you get everything that gets pledged. If it doesn't fund, you don't get anything.
Right.
Which is not true with Indiegogo, which I used before, but Kickstarter is a little bigger and a little more easy to use. So I've been going with that now. But so we set it really small. And what I did the first day is I just sent it out. I didn't announce it. I just sent it out to the previous backers of the previous campaigns, because we had at least one thing on there where we had just 5 of a thing that was a really good deal, but we get almost no money from it. So I wasn't going to put out many of them, but I wanted them to have the first chance at it, and so we got like $3,000 just from that, and so it's now about twice that, which is great, but, or a little more than twice that, but I was really pleased with that first day, and I had been hoping to contact a guy who last time contacted me and offered me a thing where you pay $50 and they put your stuff in front of people who've backed similar projects. But when I tried to write back the guy, his email bounced. I guess he's not with the company anymore. So I have to decide whether I want to actually try to buy their service, which exists without him, or not, because what they're offering is just slightly different than what he did for me, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not. But so far, it's been going quite well. John was on had a podcast with you. He's on another one on Sunday.
Oh, great!
And that's been fun. And one thing I've been trying to let all the people he normally interacts with is Patreon backers and then people on our newsletters and stuff know is anybody who backs it for just $1, like you can go in and back it for $1, not a big deal. But if they do that, they get the perks, which includes a short story that John wrote, because at the last campaign, somebody bought the have John write you a short story option. And so he's the guy who he wrote it for said we could share it. So the people who back the campaign are going to get the short story. And then they get to vote on, for however much money we get towards covering books, which is what we're doing with the rest of it now that we've paid for the rest of what we need for StarQuest. So I should say the campaign was for copy editing StarQuest, and we got that covered. We needed like $1,400 for that, and we got that covered right away. So the rest of it is going to either copy edit, either typesetting or covering other books of his. And anybody pays $1 gets to vote on which of the books that they would like to see covered. And then they get a free copy of the ebook once it's done. So, it's a pretty good deal for $1.
Yeah.
So I've been letting people know about that.
You guys are giving value. How do you design your Kickstarter campaign? What do you think about first? How do you tier things out?
Well, last time I felt I didn't do it that well. So I went and looked at a number of other people's Kickstarters, how they did their tiers. And what I try to do is pick an amount for each thing that's enough, with the exception of that one thing where we're really hardly getting any money. It's enough that we're getting something towards the campaign above the fulfillment price, but reasonable, not crazy expensive. This time what I did is we have this little Zazzle store that we've had for years, where occasionally somebody buys a shirt that has one of my characters on it or something. And so I made up a bunch. I used the Zazzle. In Zazzle, you have a little store. You can put anything on their merchandise. So, you pick up a picture, you can put it on a cup, you can put it on a shirt, you can put it on a clock. I mean, you can put it on a pickleball paddle. I did one of those because I thought it was funny. And then you can include it in your store at, they're not too highly priced things. And We have bought some stuff from Zazzle over the years. Like our kids have shirts with some of John's book stuff on it from Moth and Cobweb, and they've been pretty good. I mean, they wore them out over many years, and they outgrew them, and we recently got them new ones for in a slightly larger size. But so that I haven't seen all the objects. I didn't have the money to go ahead and buy a pickleball paddle to make sure it looked good ahead of time. I don't think anyone's going to get that anyway. But I do know that I've, the 10 or 12 things I've gotten from Zazzle over the years with our stuff on it all look good. So I'm willing to trust, if somebody gets something and they don't like it, we'll return their money or something like that. You know what I mean? But for the most part, their stuff seems to be pretty good. So I was willing to risk it.
Yeah. I think most of them are decent. You know what I mean? I haven't seen products from any of those stores be like complete garbage.
Right. And so, I've seen one or two of their things that I've got. It didn't quite work, but I had I'm trying to do a better job having the idea from the previous one, how to do it better and things like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're pretty good. So I just, I figured out what it would cost to send it from Zazzle to the people. And I incorporated that into, in with the price. And as I said, I kind of looked to see like, well, how did other people do it? And then I just kind of had to pray and guess because, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Some things are easier because there's a definite price to them and it has to be more than that. Other things, it's a little more ambiguous. But last time someone complained that I had like a bunch of low things and then a really high thing and nothing in between. So I tried to give a range this time where a person could spend a small amount and get a little bit or a much larger amount and give them like a big range of.
Have people been participating in a good distribution across all of the range?
I think so. I mean, not every tier has been picked up, but there's been some at the, and nobody, I think I probably priced the short story too high this time, but I did it on purpose because we feel a little overwhelmed. I was like, well, if somebody really wants one, it's here, but I don't want, John's kind of busy trying to finish the book, so I don't want to distract him again. But most of the others, almost all of them have, it's at different levels have been picked up by at least a few people. And, the simplest thing, which is the ebooks, has been picked up by a lot of people, which is nice because the ebooks, it takes the money and effort to put them together, but there's no fulfillment cost over the top of the initial cost. It's the project cost rather than an additional amount of money that you have to do to put out to get the mug or whatever it is,
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll work out. I only set it for American because the overseas is so expensive, but I got a request from one of the Canadian guys who backed the rest of the series. So I went in and added Canadian shipping. So hopefully he'll be able to get what it is that he wanted on his. I'll check with him to make sure I did the right things. I put in the right tiers that he wanted, but we in the first campaign, we sent stuff to Australia and Germany and stuff, and they had a lot of trouble. The price has gone up astronomically right now, maybe due to tariffs or whatever, but the mailing price for this stuff is huge and such a burden to ask people to do. I'm really, hesitant but I did put a note on it, that if somebody wants another country to let us know. So that stands. If anybody from Europe or Australia decide they want to pay the astronomical shipping price, we'll be happy to send it to them. But I feel bad asking for that because it's not going to us. It's not going to it just goes to the post office,
Right.
But, we'll do it if that's what they want. So it's fun. And, as I say, I have a number of friends who've done quite well with kickstarting over time. So I've tried to kind of learn from them. One of the guys actually last time I wrote him and I said, boy, you're doing really well. Can you give me any pointers? And he said, well, you should have a catchier title, which I did this time. This time it's Make Space Opera Great Again, when last time it was something like Cover 3 books or something. I don't remember, but it was really dull. And a couple of other things about how he did non-signed versus signed books and what kind of stuff he included. And that's kind of where I got a lot of the ideas for the campaign now. it was from him.
It's good to be able to look at the people that are putting them together successfully and then try to utilize those tactics. How many Kickstarter campaigns have you done now for book releases or either way?
If we say crowdfunding because we did the first 2 on Indiegogo, I think this is the 5th.
Okay.
So this is the 3rd StarQuest one. And we've now, the last campaign, we covered everything except for the very last copy editing, and now that's covered. But I've also did one for the videos for my writing classes. And then I did one last year for the videos for the romance version of the writing book. And the audio for that, for the last of the 4 romance videos that we managed to cover, just got turned in. The guy got married and then was ill for a bit or something like that. So it took him, he did the others last summer and then, he finally turned this one in a week or 2 ago. So hopefully within a couple of months, my videographer will have the last video done. And he does a fun job of finding various, it's a little bit cheesy video stuff he uses, but he gets little pictures that go with what's being said. And they're fun. What he does with them are fun. And then I'll have those 4 and I'll be able to send those out to the backers. I have no idea. We mentioned this last time. I have no idea what to do with the videos once. After that, I could try what was it Gumball? What was the name of the thing you mentioned?
Gumroad.
Gumroad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could look into that. I hadn't heard of it before you mentioned it.
There's other places to put courses, but
yeah,
there's
it's a course. So
there's an investment cost on a lot of those platforms. Unfortunately,
I could look at it and see, whether it's worth or not. I've thought from time to time. I do have them on my Substack, so I have a couple people who subscribe to the Substack, but it's not really a proper use of in the long run. I've thought of putting them on YouTube because I could do one a week for 20 weeks, or I think it'll be 19 or 20 of them by the time we're all done, or one a month for 20 months or something like that. But I don't know. I haven't yet felt that would be quite the right thing to do. So I don't know. Maybe someday. At one point, my agent was trying to find a place for them, but I think he may have retired and not told himself. So I mean, he's a wonderful gentleman, but he's. I think he's tired. I'm not sure he really does as much as maybe he would like to, but I'm somebody I'm very fond of, so I'm not complaining. But
he's hanging out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's an older gentleman and he's got other things going in his life, and he was really big and is an editor and an agent for years, but I don't really know what he's tried to do with them. I don't know if he's tried and it really doesn't have a place, or if he's just sent it out once or twice and is really kind of doing other things. But it was only kind of doing it as a favor for me anyway, so it's not like I'm annoyed at him for whatever it is he is doing. He's a dear fellow. I used to work for him years and years ago. But anyway, so someday something will come along, but I will at least look at Gumroad once I have all the videos and see if that looks like it'd be a good thing or not.
Yeah.
I was delighted. I think I mentioned last time, I was delighted that when the narrator did the narration for the last one, he said he's an actor in Hollywood, and he's like, I was really helpful. I found that helpful with my acting. It's like, great. I'm so glad.
A good challenge on the mic.
Yeah. And he does a great job. He also did the audiobook for John's The Last Straw, which is John's takedown of the movie The Last Jedi. And he wrote 16 articles about it, and then we put it together in a book. And this friend of ours, Ken Dickinson is his name, narrated it. And he did it in this posh English voice, so it's very elegant. It's lots of fun. But I've heard writing teachers say they used John's book about The Last Jedi in their writing classes to lay out what not to do, because he analyzes the plot structure of stories and why he thinks this one isn't working so well that they've found it very useful for teaching writing, which I think is kind of cool.
That's good.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing.
That's what it was for anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, he just did it because he was a Star Wars fan. He was unhappy with what they did. But once it was done, he figured he'd share it with other people. So anyway, that is kind of what. Yeah, so we're pretty pleased with the Kickstarter, and it's something I actually find quite difficult. It's not something like comes easy to me, I should say. The whole, having to get it out there, knowing how to try to, share it, the whole marketing side of things, I just find kind of difficult, but I just trying to do it with a good attitude and, make it available and hopefully.
I don't know. I think you're good at it.
I don't feel like I'm good at it.
I mean, you keep plugging along and you keep growing.
I do try to keep plugging along.
Yeah, your community and your engagement and your email list and stuff. So, I mean, you're doing all this stuff. I mean, how much more can you do if you're getting successful Kickstarter campaigns that are? I mean, is this the biggest one you've done?
No. This one's at 7,000. The first two hit 12 and then 14,000. So it's got a distance it could go. But of course, a lot of the people who like the series have already, they're already getting everything that we're doing here from the previous one,
Gotcha.
And so if they're going to weigh in, it's going to be for that $1.
Oh, so this is kind of an extension of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So,
right.
I mean, if you've already signed up we have a group called Privateers, which I misspelled last time. I'm not on the Kickstarter in an email. One guy teased me about it.
Uh-oh.
I wrote Privateers, and he's like, I guess we're going to Harry Potter's house. And Privet Drive. But if you've already signed up for that, you don't need to sign up again. You're still getting what the Privateers are is they get like yesterday, they got a copy of book 9. They get the book ahead of time, and they can, if they want to, find corrections, and a couple of them will send John back corrected manuscripts where they've caught spelling errors. And one guy is great; he catches continuity errors. Like, oh, you mentioned this guy here was this way, but in here you said this about him. Which in a long series is hard to not to do occasionally. So John really appreciates his help. And so, but once you've signed up for that, you don't need to re-sign up on the next campaign. So some of the things are. The natural audience is already engaged and they don't need to do it again. Those are the guys who are, hoping will jump in for $1 because they can get the extra stuff, but they don't need the rest of it. But on the other hand, I should say we probably are about as far along as we were at this point in the first two. We still have like 15 days to go. So, it's hard to tell. I was thinking the other day that the I don't know, it's not personality, constitution, the quality a person needs to be good at something like a Kickstarter is the same quality you need to be good at fishing, which I'm horrible at because I don't have the right kind of patience. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm like, every day I'm like, I guess that's the end of it. And then I'll turn around 2 days later and it's like, $1,000 higher. And I was like, why didn't I have any faith that it might get better?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you probably should if you're.
Probably should. So I'm just trying to go forward with the attitude that we're really grateful for what's come in. If it goes up higher, that's even better. But, if it doesn't, this will still be really great. We'll be able to do a number of things. And because the covers are kind of expensive, not that the covers are super expensive, but I also have to include the cut for taxes, not taxes if I can pay them right away, but the cut for, Kickstarter and the amount that needs to be paid out to actually fulfill the different things. I've made them, kind of higher than I had before. So I told everybody who's already back that, okay, we're going for this amount of money for a cover, but we also have all these typesettings to do. And the typesetting we can do for a much lower amount. So if the campaign comes to an end and we're partway to a cover, we'll just divide it into the smaller sections and do that many typesettings. So let's say a cover is the equivalent of, let's say, 4 typesettings. And, so if we get halfway, we'll do 3 covers and 2 typesettings or something like that. So that way the money is going towards the things that they, we've said it's going to go towards, even if we can't, complete the whole project of what we would like to complete. On Sunday, John did the podcast with the guy who is our typesetter, and he didn't realize until the very last minute that if it does well enough, he personally gets money. It's kind of funny. I should have told him that right off.
This is going to work out.
Yeah. Anyway, it was nice of him to help out and not realize. But anyway, so that's kind of where it is. It's I've learned a lot as we go along. I like to think I've done slightly better with the later ones than I did with the earlier ones. It's hard to tell. Like, the how much something, how popular something is, you can't really tell ahead of time. Something that people liked one time, they might not like the next time. And then something you don't think anybody's really going to be interested in suddenly turns out to be a popular tier, So you just try your best. And I had a note saying I would add tiers, and at least 1 or 2 people have written me and said, oh, I would really be like if I could get this with this. So I put an extra tier in for them that has the 2 things, because why not? It doesn't no harm to it.
That's something I've seen on Whatnot. Do you know that app? It's like an auction app, mostly for like trading cards, sport cards, collectible cards, where they'll alter the offering for a break, which is basically like they're opening up sets or boxes of cards, and people will bid on teams, or they'll ask like, hey, how much for this team and this team and this third team? If I want to get all 3 of those, will you give me a deal on them? And they'll like change up the offerings in real time while they're doing the broadcast. And I think that's like kind of what you have to do. If you're a small developing or even like established author, you have to lean on making good, interesting packages for the people that want to engage with your work.
Right. We've done that. Like we've lowered prices on things. Like last time, one of the options we have is you can have a book dedicated to somebody. And I brought the price down, and when I did, somebody picked it, and their uncle got the book dedicated to him for Christmas. We picked one that got to him in time, and worked out rather nicely. So I've done things like that. In fact, I may possibly the last week, if John is willing, lower the price of John Writes You a Short Story and see, somebody wants it. It'd still be expensive, but I really kind of made it too expensive this time because, as I said, I put it on there in case anybody wanted it. But I knew that we had both just written a short story to cover for previous campaigns, and we were both kind of tired. So I went, okay, I'm putting it on there at a high price, but it might be valuable towards the end to offer it lower just in case somebody's willing to grab it at a lower price. So
yeah,
I will see what he thinks about that during the last week, which is right around or after Easter. But it's what I find interesting about it is that a number of writers I know, this is actually their whole model of how they work. We're doing this kind of, we have a publisher we work with. We like to buy the covers because we've had so many publishers go out from under us. If we buy the covers, they're ours. We get what we like, and then we have them if the publisher changes. The guy could decide to retire or something like that, And so that's why we like to do it this way. But we're not doing everything. Like he does advertising. But I know authors who they do everything. That Kickstarter is just the way they're doing their novels. And it's kind of like what an advance used to be. It used to be you'd get an advance, $2,000, $5,000, something like that from the publisher. That's what it was used to be for science fiction and fantasy. For the most part, I actually got a little more when I got mine, but I wish I'd gotten less. But so there a lot of indie authors now are like, well, it's hard to get much range beyond, like Amazon isn't really helping us, this isn't working, that's not working. But if I do a Kickstarter, I get some money to help pay my expenses while I'm finishing the book, And for some of the people I know, that's kind of their main way of, bringing in, that's one of the main ways they bring in money, So that's an interesting thing. It's a different model. It's kind of a nice model in a way. It's like you're getting an advance from the people who might like the book rather than getting an advance from the publisher who's just taking a chance on you, And if you, fulfill what you're doing, I have a friend who's a writer, but her Kickstarter is she sells candy, and the candy's good. I always buy some and keep it for Easter or something like that, But it's again, she's doing that, just to help pay her bills in between writing and the publishing that she does. So it's neat. It's interesting. It's a different approach, to paying your bills, but I think it has a lot of promise for a lot of, for some things. So I don't think I enjoy it as much as some people. I find, I actually must say this time I'm a little calmer, maybe because I've done it a few times. I'm not as harried as I was before. I kind of was really worried about it. This time I'm like, well, we did this and we've already mailed these many books and I think I can handle this. So I know I'll be a little frazzled at some point, but I think I have it down. So maybe it's becoming a little easier for me. But at first I was really overwhelmed. Just, I don't have to order that many books because not that many people are buying, hard books versus, ebooks. But still, having to get them and get a package and get them to the mail was pretty daunting when you hadn't done anything like that before. Now that I have packages and I'm kind of ready to go and I have some boxes and stuff, I'm a little less frazzled by the whole thing.
Yeah, you've already done it. You've acclimated.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it is. I find it interesting. I mean, you could do one for films, probably.
Oh, for sure.
It kind of seems like you can do it for anything. And I personally, from my experience, think that the key is to make whatever you're actually putting up to fund as cheap as possible. Not the project, but the initial thing.
Sure.
So that at least you're going through this effort and you're going to come away with something. And obviously, that means you have to be in a situation where you can actually deliver without all that much money, but it at least makes it so that because I had friends who've tried to do Kickstarters and I've tried to help, I've shared their stuff, but it hasn't funded. And it always makes me sad, they tried hard and they didn't get quite to, and sometimes it's because their starting funding level is a little too high for where they are.
Sure. Yeah. I think you have to be considerate of the folks that are willing to monetarily support what you're doing.
Yeah.
Rapidly out of the gate,
Yeah. And the other issue, the reason I say the marketing thing is the other thing is there's no, like, you can't, if our lives would be extremely different if Amazon would sell the author the email list of the people who bought their stuff.
Of course.
And you could actually market to the people you knew liked it already. But we don't have that, So there's always this feeling of, well, I think there are more people who would like this that I can't manage to reach. And that I think makes it a bit frustrating.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a problem with a lot of platforms, really, is that they don't really give you any good CRM. They barely give you like inbound traffic statistics. I mean,
well, one of the nice things with Kickstarter is when you're done, you do have the contact information for the people who have signed up. That's why I was able to, the first day, share it with the people who had participated before. And either you can do it directly or you can do it through their update function, And the result was really good. It was that, I reached the people who were actually really interested, and I got a couple of notes that were fun to pass on to John for people to go, oh, I love this series so much, which is, encouraging. It's nice. And the book of John's that just came out is my favorite so far because it has one of these scenes that you have occasionally where all sorts of things that have been set up kind of come on stage at the same time, And it's both really exciting and funny at the same time, which I really enjoy. So it's fun to, work on a project and enjoy it and know that. And he sent book 9 off, I think I mentioned, to the beta readers yesterday. And then once this campaign funds, we will, once it pays out, we'll be able to send it to the copy editor. I don't want to send it to him until I can pay him. So it should come out in like June. And so John is now, having just finished polishing book 9, is back to work on book 10, which is probably about a quarter done. So he just has two books plus 3/4 to go. He's really eager to get done with this because, so I think you may know the history of this, but after the movie came out that he didn't like, it was a Christmas, coming back from Christmas, my sons and I, for fun, just made up like what we would have done. So we made up our own version of, what we would have done with a Star Wars movie. And John wrote it up as an article called A Review of the Movie We've All Been Waiting For, which is probably one of his best loved, most read articles, at least at the time, And it was, he pretended that he saw that movie, the one that had all the Star Wars elements that everybody loved in it. And at the end said, it's a good thing I don't live in some other universe where they did something else, And people loved it. And they started saying, hey, write this. So we at the time we were working with a small press, and the small press was going to publish it, and they were the ones who were kind of behind the Kickstarter. And so we were like, oh, great. John had just written a 3-book action style, like a pulp style, like it was done in like, with cliffhangers, like, this scene, that scene, kind of dramatic style series called Superluminary, and he wrote the whole thing in 7 months. He just kicked it out while doing his other work and working full time. So I was like, great, you can write this series, and you'll just, it was supposed to be 4 books back then, just 4 books. Let's just kick it out, and then you can get back to. He has 2 other series he's writing and he really hates stopping in the middle. So he's like, okay, I'll do that. And then he and I started rewatching One Piece, and we began to realize, as once you get past the first 200 episodes or so, how really well done it is. And
it better be well done for those first 200 episodes too.
It's fun at the beginning. It's fun, but the real depth of human struggle, the intricate portrayal of good and bad guys on both sides, and the nobility of some of the characters and the horror of what's going on, a lot of that doesn't really pick up until the arc where one of the members of the crew is personally in jeopardy, as opposed to them just helping other people. And so after that point, the guy really hits his stride. And the stuff that comes after that is just, better than what came before. I like, when I first watched it, I didn't really care about the series till I got to that point. Then I fell in love with it, and I went back and watched the whole thing again. But at first, it was just fun. It was just slapsticky. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't earth-shaking, But when we started watching the later parts, and we were really impressed, and and John's like, okay, I'm going to Luffy up this series I'm writing. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to make it more dramatic. And so it went from 4 books into 12. But the result, and then he had some other issues, health issues, different things going on in our life at the time that made it so it took a while for him to get this far. But I mean, he wrote 8 books during that period and is up to book 10 now. But it just, the publisher went away. We weren't sure what to do with it. Second publisher went away. It took a while to get back on our feet after that. But the result is that he's still halfway through both the Some Wither series, the Unwithering Realm, I think it's called, and the Moth and Cobweb series. And it really frustrates him to be halfway through because he's got the books planned out. He knows what he wants to write for them, but he doesn't have the time to do it. And there are fans of the first 2 books or the first 6, depending which series you're talking about, who occasionally write and ask, where's the rest of this? So he's really eager to get through these Dark Quest books and try to get back to these other series. And I don't blame him. I feel bad because I was the one who talked him into doing it. But I thought it was going to be another, 7 months. He kicked something out light and fun, and that was going to be it. So here we are.
Turned into a massive project.
Yeah, it turned into a massive project. And I didn't expect that because nothing like that had happened with his previous stuff. Fortunately, we have some people here. Maybe they want to weigh in and say what they're up to.
Sure, briefly. We're going to wrap up in a few minutes here.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, if you guys are interested in coming up, grab the mic. If you have questions or comments or want to promote work, this is a chance to do that. These recordings are then released on podcast platforms, all your favorites, Audible, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the rest. I don't even know. There's 10 or 12 it goes out to. So if you're looking to catch up on these sessions, there's plenty of them up there as well. As for today, up above in the nest, there's a handful of little projects. We got the Film 3 session. On Thursdays, we're going to be talking about if preparation is even necessary, if it's even important for when you're making films or script writing. Sort of a continuation of the conversation from last week. I've been putting up a ton of podcast stuff lately, including workshops from the Film 3 space, a ton of interviews, including John C. Wright. He was the most recent one. He's been up there for a week and a half or so, a little over a week. So that one's up there, and a ton of other authors you should know or do know. And as for today, yeah, I don't know. Any closing comments or thoughts?
Fun to catch up. I try often not to say too much about what I'm doing so we get on with the subject, but it's fun once in a while to just have a chance to say, oh, this is what I'm doing, and hopefully, pass on some kind of wisdom or helpful thing with something, like with something with a Kickstarter, would love if something I went through made it easier for somebody else.
Yeah, the anecdotal insights on that stuff, man, super valuable because, you've done a handful of them now.
Yeah, that's what helped me when I went to other people, and I also, you can go to Kickstarter and just look up books and see what they have,
Sure.
But the most useful thing to me was the insights of another writer who was one of the Facebook writers, and he had been doing a Kickstarter at the time, and I asked him, and he wrote me a really nice, thoughtful, with very useful points in it,
Oh, we should say that.
Some of which I mentioned just now, but I really appreciated that. So I'm very happy to pay forward if I can to anybody else who.
Today is also the last day of the Based Book Sale short stories collection I curated. It's been up for a week. I forgot about that. Gotta mention that.
Well, that's important. Yeah. I ended up not getting into that one, but I was very excited about it.
There's like 90 titles in there.
I'll try to share it one more time around, like on today on social media.
Yeah, for sure. Because actually, it's the biggest collection of titles I've ever put together on there, and I realize that's not really saying much because I'm usually only doing like 20 or 30 titles, but there's like 90 in this collection.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think 2/3 of them are new titles, stuff that has never been in the collection before. So,
oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
Great.
A bunch of new authors, a bunch of Rack and Tour Press authors, participated. So, I mean, there is a bunch of never seen before material. And who knows when we'll see it again. I think that's maybe the extra note there.
Just an unusual thing. Yeah, sorry. But I'm really glad you did it. It's interesting and delightful to see how popular it was with the authors. And, who knows, maybe it will unfold to something useful in the future.
Yeah.
One thing that I love about the base book sale that we seldom talk about is that the posts are still there.
Yeah.
The sale's over more than once. I've seen somebody complaining, about, not good book or whatever. And then I'll just give them a link to the most recent sale and say, well, it's not on sale anymore, but here are some great titles. So it becomes a permanent resource and on top of being a temporary resource.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Very much agree with that. And that's a valuable thing too, because there's like backlinks that are occurring to these different works and stuff like that. Yep. I think even if if those are clicked through there, even if they're not on sale, the affiliate links are still live too. So there's some benefit on that side of things as well. But yeah, all right. Well, this has gone well, and we will talk again before too long.